So then faith cometh by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. Romans 10:17. Paul sent word to the church at Ephesus that we henceforth be no more children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine by the sleight of men and cunning craftiness, whereby they lie in wait to deceive. Verse 4:14. In this day, we need to stand firm as a people of faith. Stand on our faith, acting out our faith, and building up the faith of others. We are exceptional at picking out scriptures we like and morphing a definition that applies to our current situation. The Word of God demands complete obedience. This is not an issue when our hearts are in the right place. If we were to examine the situation and ourselves before we aggressively pursue a recourse, the outcome would lean more proportionally towards righteousness. As I write a simple thought that God shared with me, I feel I have to deliver some qualitative research to establish my footing. Such is the world we live in. When God sent the death angel to visit every household in Egypt, the Israelites were not automatically protected simply on the basis of their mental attitude. They had to apply the blood of the Passover lamb to their doorpost in Exodus 12. Only when they expressed their faith through obedience to God's command were they safe. Quote from David K. Bernard's The New Birth, page 45. Redemption was not assumed due to their lineage or oppression. There was a call to action, and those who responded were spared. Some consider Abraham to be the father of faith. Arguably so. Abraham's faith led him on a journey that directed his conduct for many years, faith that caused him to trust and commit himself wholly to God. Bernard, page 48. Despite the absence of a sign, a word from God, or a written dialogue of divine promise, God has so much more planned for us than we access. When we seek God daily, His purpose becomes apparent, and our eyes open to new possibilities and the needs of those around us. People may dispute the point, but what is faith that is not implemented? Living our faith directs our response to every other aspect of our being, day-to-day activities, encounters, and trials. In Romans 10, verses 14 and 15, the Bible asks, "How then shall they call on him in whom they have not believed? And how shall they believe on him on whom they have not heard? And how shall they hear without a preacher? And how shall they preach except they be sent?" We need a preacher and submission to spiritual authority. I do not promote abuse of authority, but God has instituted a hierarchy system not to oppress, but to lead to greater revelation, understanding, and growth. Please see Hebrews 13 and 17 and Ephesians 4, verses 11 and 12. With all this said, I want to take a closer look at Romans 10:17. I am not diminishing the importance of assembling and listening to the preached word. This is very important to personal growth and evangelism. However, I am guilty of listening and not hearing. The simple thought expressed in my mind during spiritual reflection is based on my physical hearing. I have had a degree of hearing loss, and my wife loves to appraise with various auditory levels of speech until I respond. Although I have failed to grasp every word spoken by others consciously, I have always caught every word that I have spoken out loud. It is amazing that when we plug our ears or float in water and we speak, our words resonate clearly in our hearing. When we speak faith and believe, it echoes in our spiritual self in a way that no other person can do for us. Ephesians 4 tells us, "Speak the truth in love." Verse 15. "Put off concerning the former conversation." Verse 22. "Put on the new man. Speak every man truth with his neighbor." Verses 24 and 25. "Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers. Verse 29. And let all bitterness and wrath and anger and clamor and evil speaking be put away from you with all malice, and be ye kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God, for Christ's sake, has forgiven you. Verses 31, 32. Practice speaking faith and utilizing a blessing tongue. I love the often quoted scriptures of Romans 12, verses 1 and 2, but the remaining chapter is just as powerful. Not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think. Verse 3. God had dealt every man the measure of faith. Verse 4. Let love be without dissimulation. Abhor that which is evil. Cleave to that which is good. Be kindly affectioned one to another with brotherly love. In honoring, prefer one another. Not slothful in business, fervent in spirit, serving the Lord, rejoicing in hope, patient in tribulation, continually instant in prayer. Verses 9 through 12. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Verse 15. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Verse 21. I know that I have referred to Romans 12 as a great resource on Christian living in the past, but the measure of faith is fitting for this discussion. In Mark 11, Jesus cursed a fig tree within hearing distance of his followers, and when they passed by this tree again, they found it withered. To the disciples' amazement, Jesus answered, have faith in God. Verse 22. Jesus' lesson continued with asking for your desires and believing you will receive and forgive others. Faith spoken achieves results that are in accordance with God's purpose and not selfish in nature. Today is the perfect time to add speaking faith to your daily regimen. The more we talk about faith, the more we will see faith's results. Faith makes room in us for change. We lean on faith, reside in hope, and know that all things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. Romans 8:28. Speaking faith out loud ensures that we are hearing it and in turn building on our measure of faith. There will be times when we must plug our ears and drown out the world around us, but with a concentrated effort to advance toward the substantial things hoped for. See Hebrews 11:1. We rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of our faith, even the salvation of our souls. See 1 Peter 1, verses 8 and 9.